That uncomfortable bench in the plaza isn't a design mistake, it's a weapon. And that's the first way urban design secretly increases your stress. So-called hostile architecture isn't about safety, it's about social control. The big idea is that to solve complex social problems like homelessness, the city uses design as a silent repellent. The explanation for this comes from the fear of urban disorder in the 1980s. Global cities began to implement defensive design to drive away unwanted people. The iconic example is benches with dividers, but the arsenal is vast. Ventilation grates with sharp bumps so no one can sleep, sprinklers that activate under awnings, and even the bizarre blue lighting in public restrooms designed to prevent drug users from finding their veins. The impact is a human disaster. An elderly person can't lie down to rest, a pregnant woman can't get comfortable, a father can't sit comfortably with his child. The space becomes inhospitable for everyone, destroying empathy and just hiding vulnerability without solving a single thing. But the control doesn't stop with furniture. It infiltrates the very fabric of the city. The tyranny of functional zoning has condemned us to a life of forced commutes and isolation. The big idea is that radically separating the city's functions, living here, working there, recreation somewhere else, creates a logistical dystopia. The explanation comes from the modernist ideals of Le Corbusier. The Athens Charter preached this separation as the future of the city, a vision that proved to be a concrete nightmare. The concrete example is your daily routine. You need a car to buy bread. Your residential neighborhood becomes a lifeless desert after 6 p.m. You barely know your neighbors because there are no places to meet. Compare the vitality of an old street with shops and cafes on the ground floor to the sterility of a silent suburb. The impact is the chronic stress of car dependency and the loneliness of living in a community that wasn't designed for interaction. The solution? A return to common sense, like the 15-minute city, which reintegrates everything and gives us back our neighborhood life. If zoning attacks our time, the next enemy attacks our senses. Sensory pollution is the invisible bombardment of light and sound that drains your mental energy. The big idea is that the design of our cities is physiologically attacking us, even if we don't realize it.
The explanation is scientific. The constant noise from traffic and aggressive artificial lighting, think of cold white LEDs or flashing billboards, increase your levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, day and night. The iconic example is the brutal contrast between the welcoming public lighting of cities like Lyon, which uses yellow, downward-focused light, and the blinding utilitarian lighting of most metropolises, which pollutes the sky and invades your window. The direct impact on your health is insomnia, lack of focus, and a generalized anxiety. The solution exists: quiet zones, sound-absorbing asphalt, and lighting regulations, tools to create sensory oases in the midst of chaos. And speaking of chaos, we arrive at the blind facade syndrome, monumental buildings that make us feel small and isolated. The big idea is that a building's scale directly affects our psychology. Giant glass or concrete facades with no doors, windows, or details at street level break our connection with the environment. The explanation comes from urbanist Jan Gehl and his concept of human scale. Our brain is wired to feel safe in environments with details and visual rhythm every 15 feet, something a 300-foot glass wall does not offer. The example is clear. Contrast a charming street with 4- or 5-story buildings full of balconies and shops with an avenue flanked by mirrored corporate towers and high walls. Where do you feel safer and more welcome? The impact is the creation of environments that generate anonymity and irrelevance. They eliminate Jane Jacobs' eyes on the street, discouraging walking and increasing the feeling of insecurity. It is proof that impressive architecture is not synonymous with humane architecture. This lack of life leads us to the public space desert, plazas and parks designed to be seen in an architecture magazine, not to be lived in by people. The big idea is that an empty public space is not a failure of the people, it is a failure of the project. The little-known fact was revealed by William H. White with his concept of triangulation. He discovered that simple elements like an interesting sculpture, a kiosk, or movable chairs are the secret to making strangers interact. Their absence creates sterile spaces. The iconic example is the comparison between a concrete plaza with no shade and fixed benches and Bryant Park in New York, which became a global success for one simple reason: movable chairs. The freedom to move a chair gives people control, comfort, and a reason to stay. The impact of bad design is the frustration of having a public space where there is nothing to do. The solution is to understand that design must serve life, offering comfort, choice, and reasons for people to connect. And where else do we feel the stress of bad design? On the street, which has been transformed into a battlefield, prioritizing the speed of the car over the peace of mind of the pedestrian.
The big idea is that our streets aren't dangerous by accident. They were designed to be dangerous for those on foot. The explanation lies in traffic engineering, obsessed with levels of service for vehicles. Wide lanes and open curves are a visual and physical invitation for drivers to speed up, even in residential areas. The clearest example is the American Strode, a disastrous mix of a street and a road. Compare this asphalt landscape with the Dutch Woonerf, a street design where the pedestrian is king, and the design forces cars to move with the speed and attention of a guest. The human impact is constant fear. Anxious parents, elderly people struggling to cross, and the decision to take the car for a 500-meter trip. The solution is traffic calming, narrowing lanes and raising crosswalks so that a safe speed is the only natural option. This priority given to concrete has led us to nature amnesia, the systematic elimination of green from our cities, which makes us physically and mentally ill. The big idea is that our brain has an innate need to connect with nature, and most modern cities deny this fundamental need. The explanation is the biophilia hypothesis from E.O. Wilson. We're programmed to feel good near green spaces. Cities that ignore this are essentially creating environments that depress us. The example is the image of a concrete overpass or a giant parking lot versus a street with a canopy of trees, or Singapore's City in the Garden project. The difference in well-being is immediate and palpable. The consequence of living surrounded by asphalt and glass is an increase in rates of depression and anxiety. The solution goes beyond just planting trees. It's green roofs, pocket parks, and the renaturalization of rivers. It is the reintegration of life amidst the concrete. Finally, the stress of impossible navigation, when a lack of logic turns the city into a frustrating labyrinth. The big idea is that getting lost or feeling confused in your own city is not your fault, it's a design flaw. The explanation is cognitive load. An illogical urban environment with dead-end streets, duplicate names, and no landmarks forces your brain to constantly work to find its way. This causes fatigue and irritation. The iconic example is a public transport system with confusing maps, or a new neighborhood with identical streets that forces you to depend on GPS for every move. The impact is a subtle but constant stress. The solution is to apply the principles of wayfinding used in airports to the city scale. Clear signage, distinct visual landmarks, and a legible street hierarchy that allows us, finally, to navigate with peace of mind. Which of these concepts best describes your city? I want to know your opinion in the comments. It's your suggestions that define the next videos on the channel. And if you want to keep decoding the world around you, subscribe so you don't miss the next video.